Well, USC is mourning the deaths of several students this semester. 9 students have passed away, the latest being a student whose body was discovered in an off-campus apartment complex last Monday. Now, 3 of the deaths are confirmed suicides, but the LAPD says it's looking into whether or not some of the deaths may have resulted from drug overdoses. Last weekend, the university sent out a letter to students about mental health and drug use, saying in part, "We want you to be informed about the dangers of abusing opioids. The effects of alcohol mixed with drugs can be fatal." Join me now to talk about the deaths at USC and really the growing opioid crisis is Harry Nelson. You are the founder of Nelson Hardiman Law Firm and the author of The United States of Opioids, A Prescription for Liberating a Nation in Pain.
Leslie, great to be with you this morning.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us.
Of course.
So we know that right now LAPD is still really investigating these deaths, but clearly USC warning students about the dangers of opioids. How prevalent are opioids on college campuses?
So part of the problem is we just don't know, right? This is a problem. Opioids are a problem of prescription medications being misused or overprescribed, but also increasingly laced into other things. So there's been reports that there may have been cocaine laced with fentanyl. We've had a number of cases of celebrities and athletes like Tyler Skaggs, the Angels pitcher, dying of OxyContin laced with, or it was called OxyContin, it was counterfeit, it was really fentanyl. So we just don't know, but opioids are a huge part of the problem and from what I've heard, a significant issue in many of the deaths at USC.
Yeah, and on many college campuses, really, are we seeing an increase in college campuses? I mean, the crisis, opioid crisis across the country, is obviously.
So when we talk about
terrible.
the opioid crisis, just
Yes.
it's very interesting. I would say, without question, we're talking about overdose deaths. We're talking about misuse that leads to addiction, and then we're just talking about, the general stress that's leading people to you, even if they think it's under control. There's no question that it's a problem on college campuses. The 2017 National Opioid Commission report called attention to colleges as a place needing access to addiction treatment, so recovery, housing for students who are particularly at risk or have had issues, and more overdose and mental health prevention.
Wow. You did talk about the fact that there are drugs out there that are being mixed, and really at the end of the day, these users may not know what they are taking. The USC also put out that statement saying, hey, students, you need to be aware that if you are using drugs, sometimes you may not even know what's in them. So really, how dangerous can that be for a person?
It's a massive problem. What we're seeing in a lot of these cases is that the drugs are being distributed by people who think that they're selling cocaine or selling OxyContin, and in fact, they're selling fentanyl products. We saw that. That was the case in the Mac Miller death. His drug dealer who went to jail thought he was really selling him OxyContin. And what we're seeing is on college campuses, there's an enormous amount of informal distribution where people are sharing and partying, and they think that it's coming from a source up the chain that assured that it was really a pure cocaine, and in fact, it's really even the people selling it don't really know it's laced with fentanyl. The problem is fentanyl is so cheap and plentiful that it's much more of a profitable process for the way back at the beginning of the stream, where these drugs are being manufactured, sometimes in Asia, sometimes in Central America. And we don't even know. Nobody knows what's in the drugs.
Wow. You wrote a book on the opioids crisis. Why was that something that you needed to do, that you felt compelled that you had to write? So
my background, I'm a healthcare lawyer, and I found I was responding to overdoses after the fact. I write in the book about some of the celebrity overdoses, but I was constantly responding to deaths of patients, in some cases clients. I even just last night I learned of a prominent person in the recovery community here who died, and it became a daily occurrence. And I felt I needed to put something out there to try to move the conversation on these issues and try to create some more awareness so that we move towards solutions.
Yeah, and lastly, before we leave, of course, we want to be able to make sure people get the help they need. Where should people go if they need help, or if they feel like their family and friends need help?
There's the national drug hotline. There are all kinds of resources if you put in online. If people go to my website, harrynelson.com, I included a glossary, which is in the book, of a number of both government agencies and nonprofits that are doing important work And there's a lot of awareness raising to do, and a lot of places to turn for support. And people, we just need everybody to start educating themselves and educating our kids.
Yeah, that is true. Education is key. Thank you so much for stopping by.